you like my cup?
eBay shill. eBay addict. Where did that come from?
I actually saw it in a charity shop for like 25p, and I was like, I'll take that. Obviously, I sterilized it because I'm, normal, but I found it in the charity shop. So,
What do you mean you sterilized it? Did you use like actual?
bleach cleaned it.
I feel like that's a bit
Out of a
excessive.
charity shop.
I feel like that's a bit excessive. Like to sterilize it.
If you went and got a used water bottle, would you sterilize it?
Of course, you just wash it.
No, I had boiling water and bleach on this bad boy.
That just seems. If you're going to someone else's house with a mug, are you gonna like fucking bleach it out first?
No, I don't. But I don't. For some reason, I don't know. I just expect somebody who's donated it at a charity shop to have. I don't know.
Good morning.
Morning, people.
How are you? It's actually a beautiful day today, by the way. Is it? Yeah. I got blue sky. I haven't had to put my radiator on, which is big news.
Yeah, it's not on, but I can't see the sky at the moment. It's just clouds here at the minute.
Oh, we got blue sky, sun shining. Another benefit to being down south. It's beautiful. I haven't had to put the radiator on. So we're feeling good there. Saving electricity. Life's amazing.
Lovely.
I've had the fan on last night. I was hot.
Oh, we have the fan on all year round, every single night.
No, you didn't. Not in the middle of winter.
I'm telling you now, we do. It doesn't. There is not an evening where we don't have the fan on at night.
Is your house just that hot?
No, it's just that me and Tasha exude a lot of heat.
Exude.
Well, the word is, I
like it. I like exude.
But yeah, we just pour out a load of heat and it gets really hot in the evening. And I'm a big when you get into bed, right, and it's cold. I like that.
Yes, I like that. I mean, technically,
I like to be warm inside. Once I'm in, I want to get warm. But when I'm getting in, I like it to be cool, and I like the air around me to be cold.
So I'm like, if you get the thing is the initial touch of the covers can be cold, and you're like, oh, and then you get a bit snuggly, and it gets all like, ooh. But supposedly you sleep better in the cold. That's the cooler the room. Well, I think to a certain point anyway. Obviously,
if it's -10, then it's probably not going to be the most.
If you've got frostbite or whatever, you're not going to be sleeping well. But generally speaking, the cooler the room, the better. Good morning, everyone. Anyone here? How's it going?
Absolute rubbish. Should have started.
Yeah, classic reselling podcast. This with absolute exquisite information about how to sleep better. So you never know what you're going to get, really.
No. Absolutely.
How's our weekend? How we been?
Oh, we've been great. We've had fun. I've got back to the car boots again.
I forgot that.
I genuinely
because you were drooling, ready to go.
Yeah. So last year, I've said this before, but last year I got to the end of the season and I got a little bit lazy. So my car boot goes until it is impossible to continue. So way into early, late November, early December. So yeah, they go as long as possible. And I think when we got to October, I kind of bailed and I was like, it's cold, it's dark, it's miserable. I don't really want to be around. And because we had the backup of just sourcing so much on Vinted and stuff, I kind of just bottled going to the car boots. And I have been absolutely frothing at the mouth recently. I think it's down to the new vet. Because last year I said to myself I was going to be specifically clothing and allow myself to deviate occasionally.
I'm sorry, I'm just going back to the beginning of this year where you said you were not going to do anything different for the whole year. And I find it so fun. It just actually makes me laugh right now because you were so certain. I was like, okay, and you were like, no, we're gonna keep it steady. We're gonna cash flow, and then you're like, 16 different new things. Go.
Welcome to my world. But yeah, so essentially, I now that I'm into the electronics, heavy, I'm heavy into them. I've got a couple of contacts, not deep, proper contacts that holding me stuff. Well, I've got one contact that basically knows that I like electricals, and when I turn up, they just pass them to me. But the one thing that's really good about that one is that they they don't like hoarders and people that come in and chaos, right? So they don't get any gaming stuff out at all. So no video games, no consoles, nothing in that way, shape or form. And if they do, they just go and put it in the front seat and everyone follows them because they want it. But the bonus is that because I've been super fair with them with pricing and stuff like that, they have now decided that they are not selling it to anybody but me. So basically now when I go, they go, oh, I've got some gaming stuff. It's in the back. When everyone F's off, come back and we'll price it all up for you. Yeah, so
Nice.
that's quite nice. So I haven't got a full on contact, but last year, so I've been paying up a lot of auctions recently, and I wasn't willing to do so on electronics because my knowledge was still a little bit, although they're easy to price up and comp and check sell-through rates and stuff like that. Like like instant sort of like when you see something special in clothing, you go, oh my god, and straight away, right? Whereas electronics, like I'm still a little bit like working it out.
You're like, oh, that has a lot of buttons.
I had a contact last year when I was like sort of like letting myself deviate a little bit. And they have a basically a full warehouse full of electronics that they send to Africa. And I was in there and I kind of let it slide because it was on the higher price range. So it would be like closer to like maybe 40 to 50% profit after like everything, right? So like it was just not 60 to 50% profit, like no 40, no lower end, basically a double up. Jesus Christ, my brain, honestly, closer to a double up, maybe a little bit less, right? But the sell-through rate on all of this stuff is really, really good, and I let myself like think about it from a clothing perspective rather than an electronics perspective, and that kind of let me go away. However, I have reached out to her, and we are going to try and cook something this year where we can chat and we can get in. The only downside is she's about an hour and a half away from me, so I've got to go there, and I have a small van. So, long story short, great weekend, great week, and I've had fun. I've been to look at a new unit. I've got my first proper handpick wholesale delivery yesterday of clothing, and I'm really, really looking at ways. I've not said anything to you. You don't even know about this, but I've been looking at ways to make it more circular. So like trying to get stuff brought into me. There's a guy that I've been following on Instagram that I've literally just found. And he's getting like lorry loads of electronics. So it just in my head triggered something about that they're, because we used to think that clothes are super accessible, right? They're everywhere. The good ones, not so much, but in general clothing, right? And it made me realize that you can also do this in other niches. There is volumes of everything. So I'm trying to look at now ways to get like untested, maybe even I know they're broken type items. And then because I fixed my coffee machine, now I'm overly confident that I can fix other things. So now there's potential where I could maybe do some refurbishments and stuff like that. And then that becomes part of the business model to do more. That may include hiring some people. Benji's going to lose his mind because my brain works this way. But yeah, and again, that might not be. And also, shout out Jay in the group. Me and him were shooting the barrel or the fish or whatever. And I wrote a list of not a list.
That's definitely not the phrase.
I've started writing a list down of how I can do things. So we had Dean House Flip Hustle in our group. So my progression chart, I've written it down on a piece of paper here. And I want to buy and sell houses, of course. Why not? Okay. I want to start a house clearance company that I don't have anything in other than own, and therefore hire people to work in it, and then they bring the stuff to me, and then I sell the stuff, right? Figure out electronics, and then there is a content thing around that, which is interesting, and I'm going back and forth with some AI stuff to try and work out. But yeah, like my brain's been going in crazy overdrive, and a lot of it is stemmed from the second warehouse on my story, because it is over 3,000 square foot, and I don't need that much space until I do.
Was it that big? It was over 3,000. I think
it's 3.2k square foot.
Interesting. Okay, I'll get back to lots of things in there. Morning, Andy. Feel free to interrupt at any time when we're just waffling at the start. Morning, Tommy. Jack says you've got the consistency of a roulette wheel.
Hey, listen, they always land on numbers.
A Happy Day said, Morning, not much to report, just World War III going on. Yeah, fair.
I mean, facts, yeah.
Actually, yeah, business could be heavily impacted at some point.
I'm sure it will have some negative impacts further down the line, from a probably like a financial and all that sort of stuff.
I mean, again,
Inflation's going to hit a all new high, I'd imagine. Soon.
We're no experts by any means, but it's. I know we're not going to spend time talking about it, but crazy shit that going on, and interesting to see how it plays out. Obviously terrible for a lot of people, and then
pretty much
everyone. But yeah, apart from that, here, nice day. Thank goodness. And then Jack, we've got any games? Morning, Reese. I think I remember this time.
Yes,
it was Reese. Yes, nice. Okay, actually, I'll give it. I'll end the summary. Okay.
I just wanted to clarify, Jack. He says if you can fix a coffee machine, you can fix an engine. I went to college and did mechanics, and I have also fixed my van multiple times. In fact, I did a whole Instagram 2-day story on my red van where I was replacing water pumps and belts and all sorts, talking about how easy it is. If you just have any sort of Lego mentality, just any sort of ability to go, this goes there, that come out of there, that goes back there. That's it. It's just taking something off and put it back on. It is super easy, which is why I have an overly exuberant confidence about being able to fix electronics, even though I can't solder and have no idea what any of it means.
The problem with electronics is they're so fiddly. I like mechanics because I get shaky hands. So when I'm doing really fine things, my hands start to shake, or with excitement or anxiousness, I get shaky hands. So when I'm doing electronics, I did electronics at school, and mate, I was twitching everywhere, and so that's harder to me than just pulling out big bits. Right, or taking stuff apart like that, because I like working on my car.
Cramped space. I've got no problem. I'm not a fucking surgeon, steady hand or anything, but my problem is that I've got relatively big hands. I've got normal hands, but they're so when you're in an engine and you're trying to get bolts out of tight areas, that becomes more difficult. So I can understand from an electronic standpoint, getting in the niddly bits is probably quite difficult. But
I mean, they just take it all apart. They're just just dismantle.
There's that guy. Have you seen the guy on? I think he does YouTube Shorts or maybe even YouTube, or maybe and I've seen him on Instagram. But he basically buys broken switches and stuff in bundles of 5, fixes them all, and then sells them all. And that's it. His business model is buy stuff he knows is broken that he knows he can replace, and if he can't fix it, he just keeps that. And then the next time something else comes up, he can just take parts off it he needs to and move it along. And it's a really, really good way of just keeping it circular and just keeping it moving.
Yeah, I mean, I will go into what you said in a minute because I think it's interesting. I'll briefly summarize my week as well. So you've had your first wholesale lot in. I've had my first proper delivery of bags in. Which was really exciting, to be honest with you. We've got the space properly set up finally. Everything's ready to go.
If anyone doesn't know, the settee's gone. It might be
looks like this.
I'm not sure if you mentioned it on here, but the settee is now gone.
Nice little
now got his sorting desk set up, which is lovely.
We got a nice little workbench ready to go to process stuff and get things sorted with a big light so we can check for marks, even though we'll probably still miss stuff. But yeah, we've had our first delivery in. That was really interesting. We had some initial teething problems with one of the first deliveries because the company I was using didn't put through my information properly, so DPD didn't know where to deliver it. And then that's been on an absolute journey. And oh my God, I've been annoyed all week because basically it got returned to the company. So basically they didn't put the number of the place it was meant to be delivered to. They just put the road. And I was like, why? And then DPD took it back. And they were like, hey, give us some information so we can deliver this. And I was like, no problem. So I called the company. I'm like, hey, they need the information. Can you just chuck it through to them? Just go to this parcel and they're like, sorry, we can't do that. Once the label's been generated, we can't change anything. I was like, yeah, but they're telling me you have a dashboard and that you can go on the dashboard and you can change the address and that will update on their system. So I was like, they'll do that. And he was like, okay, we'll try it. And then they changed the delivery address. I called DPD back. Like, oh, it hasn't updated. And then eventually it gets returned to them at their depot, the company's depot. And then that gets returned last Sunday, by the way, last Sunday. So I'm like, okay, hey, it's at your depot. I don't know what that means. I don't know where it is. I don't know what's going on in your depot, but can you please get that sent out to me now? Like, I need it now. Because this is one of my first customers using it. And this person was hesitant to use it in the first place. Because obviously, with how I'm working things, how not only does it impact me and the person I'm partnered with, but also the people that they work with as well. So yeah, it disappeared, and I spent all week chasing up, sending emails to the support team, to the people that have helped me on board into this system. And they're like, oh, we'll get back to you whenever we have note of it. I'm like, well, it's been delivered on Sunday. And I'm like sending message on Tuesday, Wednesday, and they keep going back and forth with me. Anyway, it gets to, I think, Thursday. At this point, I'm pissed off. I'm like, it's at your depot, someone do something. So I had a meeting the day before with their client success team or something like that. And I said, I've just met this woman. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, this is going to be my first message to you. But I'm like, I have talked to everyone. No one is helping me. This is at your depot. This is what's happening. I'm getting annoyed because this is going to impact multiple relationships. Can you please help me now? Like, I need this sorted like ASAP. And literally I woke up the next morning, and before I'd even, like, she'd already sorted it. She was like, oh, found it. It's on its way to you today. I was like, why could no one else do this whole week? Like, it's been there for 5 days. Why has no one else been able to just get it to me today? So that's arriving now, today, which is, I'm going to have to profusely apologize to the person because it's been, I think they sent it like a week and a half ago at this point, which is just stupid. Aside from that, yeah, the bundle got delivered, got some great stuff in it. I got this little cheeky little polo, little thumb Sweeney for anyone. Obviously, the one side of the labels come off.
Oh, it's worth 50% now because the label's hanging off. Sorry,
yeah.
mate.
This just feels like it's dried really cold. But that was a banger. I got some Sunspell. I mean, some of the other stuff was like a bit like the smaller side of things, like Sunspell, Norse projects, but they were like t-shirty type things.
How does the size range for you, like in terms of this sort of stuff? Because obviously you haven't said too much about what you're doing, but I can't imagine you get too many, and this might be way off the mark, but I can't imagine you get too many of the bigger sizes. I mean,
I've just started, so I don't really know.
Yeah. You'll take some time. But do you think I'm in the right in the assumption there, based on what
I think I'll get bigger size? I think in the women's side of things, I don't think I will as much. Like, there's some people that already want to send me some size 6s, which I'm going to try out. Because I don't think it will go well, but I just want to prove to like a point to one to myself and two to.
I think if you're putting stuff on vintage, size 6, like, it's always been super cautious on eBay. Like, I've always been very, like, let's be honest, if you cleared out, like, where you cleared out your store, a lot of the stuff that you hadn't sold on eBay was all very small sizes. But I do genuinely think you can get away with it slightly more on Vinted. Because it's like a way younger, like, in general platform. So I think you can just about get away with it.
Yeah, I think it depends what it is, right? Like,
yeah, I was going to say it depends what it is.
Sea salt size 6 you're never selling.
No, yeah, not.
Whereas I think a lot of it was Reese, and which I think I could get away with, and Caramel.
100%.
She said Caramel in as well, which is obviously a bit hit or miss. But I've sold some Caramel and stuff since starting to do this, which has been good. But yeah, I got my first few bags in, set that up. I've been having to think about how I'm going to get stuff delivered because I don't have an actual address and people are wanting to send me a lot at a time. So we're going to have to deal with that. And I think I've come up with the solution, which I think I'm going to get one of the metal bins that you put donations into, like with the lever. So they can put deliveries in there. Obviously, no one can get it out unless they break in or whatever, but it'll be cleared out every day.
Where are you going to put that on your, like, because obviously
either at the front of the alley, or I'm talking to the people. There's a business building next door where you can like rent a part of the building or whatever. I'm going to see if I can make a deal with them to put that outside their building,
I'm not 100% sure if it's a council issue rather than a shop.
Nah, it's not a business center. It's like a private one. It's like a obviously, you know, you can get the council business centers. That's not one. It's like a private building.
Because I was worried we were going to just chuck it outside your big double doors, and I was like, mate, the council
on the street. No, I could just put it on the street.
The slightest.
Yeah,
I looked into this in terms of getting like a donation been put in like areas and stuff, and you have to get like not only do you have to get council permission, but like even if I wanted to, you know, like co-op that are like privately owned like spaces. If I want to put one in there, I still have to inform the council first.
Interesting.
Which was interesting. At least in my area, I don't know whether it's the same in yours, but
I don't. Well, I don't think I'm putting in any sort of public space, so I don't think I need to. But we'll see. Obviously, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah.
Outside of that, for anyone that doesn't know, I've been working on an automated like bookkeeper like for ages in terms of doing my accounts for me. My mum's just said, whose idea? That was my mum. Was it? Yeah, it was your idea, right? It was my mum's idea. So that was a shout from her, because I was thinking originally like a bin, and I was like, actually, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I've been working on an automated bookkeeper using some AI stuff for a while, and I finally finished it pretty much. It also auto delists from Vinted and stuff like that. So that's been really cool, and that's finally come together. So a lot of things coming together for me at the moment.
What does the bookkeeper like in general? Like obviously it's automated, but what does the bookkeeper do that you couldn't? Does it? I know obviously it pulls all the information in, but in terms of like the actual information it gives you, like what's the basis of it? Just like what's it giving you?
What do you mean by what's it giving me?
Well, like is it working out your VAT payments? Is it working out your tax? All of that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, so it does literally everything. So it tracks all eBay, all my expenses, like every single transaction that goes through my bank account, auto categorizes it, creates the things in Xero to accompany that. It also tracks all my Vinted sales and my eBay sales correctly, and puts them through puts spreadsheets. Has a spreadsheet for everything. I also have like a complete stock sheet, which basically I can now. What's gonna be interesting for me now is I'm gonna be able to get average sell-through rate, which is gonna be quite interesting of my store. Literally, I can see the individual sell-through rate of every single item and how fast it's sold, and stuff like that. And then obviously it gives all the normal metrics that you'd expect, like ASP, cost of goods, blah 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 blah. But yeah, it's gonna be super interesting to actually keep track of things, and obviously it just automates this all for me, which is fantastic, as well as the Vinted delisting, where I don't have to do that, which has been great. And there was
such a great one, that one.
Yeah,
no one else has mastered it at all, so it's fantastic. Like if you can get it nailed down, that's great.
Obviously it's not something I can like easily replicate as such. It takes like some technical shit to do to get set up for like an individual. But I think I've figured it out now, and I might test it out with you and see if I can get it to work for you quite easily as well. So yeah, life's been going good, and the only thing is what I've realized is the people I'm working with are like they're going to be inconsistent, so I'm going to need a bigger group of things, which could cause me some issues at some point if they will decide to be consistent at one go and everything comes in at one go. Then it'll be like, ooh. But outside of that, I'm feeling really positive about things at the moment.
Do you think you're ahead of where you thought you would be? Like, go rewind like 3 months when you had the idea of what you were doing and stuff like that. Do you think you're ahead or on target, or like?
No, I'm behind. I'm definitely behind. Because I wanted to replace my current sourcing completely by Christmas, and I'm only getting into replacing it now, which is slow. So I'm about 2 months behind. I'm at least a month and a half behind. Yeah, 2 months. No, I'd say at least 2 months behind, which is not ideal. But again, I really think this will be I've said this multiple times in different places, but a boulder push, like getting that boulder moving, and then hopefully the boulder starts rolling downhill and stuff will be good. There's still a few systems I need to iron out to make sure I'm capable of dealing with it.
Like, I know you've got like maybe 10 or so contacts at the moment. I'll be interested to see how many people use it and then stop using it because it's either not convenient enough or they're not happy with it. I wonder, like, if that happens, because obviously you're providing the service and the person that's providing another service, like that wasn't a thing. So now you're kind of filling in the gap, right? But I wonder if any of the person in the middle, I wonder if they go, like, this is a bit too much effort for what I'm doing, like, or whether it's so. Like, obviously, it's pretty seamless, but I just wonder, like, if people will just stop using it because they're like, just can't really ask.
At the moment, I'm more my issue is I wanted to say they're going to start using it and they never do.
And they never do.
That's more my issue. I think if they get going, like, they'll realize it's good. Like, for example, the person that sent me the stuff the other day is going to get like a £300 payout, and they're getting, hopefully that kicks them into, I should probably make sure I'm doing this consistently. That's a lot of extra money. So that sort of stuff is going to be interesting. I think every step I've taken has been like a step towards improving the service, and understanding what the needs are of the people I'm servicing. And obviously that's incredibly important. When I first started, I had no idea. I didn't know who I was servicing or what it is that their systems look like. And for example, I recently, originally, I was like, I only need drop-off. I only need QR drop-off. And I talked to some people and they're like, no, I'm not dropping stuff off because it's inconvenient, right? It's an extra step. That's not what they do. So then it's like, okay, now we've got Royal Mail collection. And that means that they can set it up and walk away and it gets collected. And all of this stuff is little things that I think should make it better and better. And now realistically, it's just a matter of finding the right solution for whoever I'm working with. I wanted it to all be the same originally, but it's not. And I have to adapt slightly with each person. And obviously the adaptation I don't have to keep track of, but it's just the initial setup looks slightly different. So yeah, it's going to be good. And I'm like, this podcast is obviously called Next Steps. And that's kind of what it's looking like now. We're finally making the next step, transitioning over, and it's going to be really interesting. I look forward to keeping it. I should just talk about it properly at some point, but
I think you're probably, in my opinion at least, you're probably about 6 months away from talking about it properly, because I feel like you need to be more established before you start. Again, it's not like people are going to replicate.
I don't think I do. I don't even think I need it.
I don't think you even need to not talk about it as much, but ultimately, there is a little bit of like, I would just keep it a little bit quieter for now, just to get it through over the line. Once it's over the line and you're happy, then you can let everybody know. Because I do feel like there is, like, even some of the people I see on Instagram, right? Like, I see something and I'm like, that's a good idea, and sometimes I'll try and replicate it. It might not work out, it might do. But I'm inherently inquisitive is the word I was looking for. I'm slightly inquisitive anyway. So when I see somebody doing something well, I will naturally deviate my brain to that for, like, even if it's only for a day. Like, I'll go and look into it and be like, oh yeah, that's how they do this. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe that's not a good idea. Or like, do you know what I mean? And you can implement. I think that's how everybody in business kind of works anyway. They just see what other people do. How many brands do you know that is just a carbon copy of another brand or another company? But they make one minor change, right? And then boom, they're a completely different company, even though they're exactly the same as somebody else's product. They've just made one small change and moved on. And that's kind of what you can do. So
yeah.
I mean, even yours is a carbon copy of about 6 businesses that I know.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Like, and not even like in your niche, like there are many of other people in different niches doing the exact same thing, essentially. And it is just a carbon copy. However, I think you're the first like person that isn't a $1 million company to be like, this is how I'm going to do this and whatnot.
I think obviously it worked. Like, there's going to be things that works different, and they do it differently to how I do it.
You're doing it in a very specific way compared to a lot of other people, for sure.
Yeah. But I'll probably branch out into what they're doing for the most part at some point whenever I get to that size.
Yeah.
So we'll see how the year goes. Jumping back a sec to you though, obviously you're kind of, you talked about this whilst you're going through. So obviously you're looking at so for anyone that doesn't follow Chris on Instagram, make sure to go drop a follow. And well, maybe me not so much, but the reseller group, because we're now posting content. So
lots of content going out. We've just dropped a new reel literally this hour.
Some of it may be cringe, some of it you may not agree with, some of it you may really like. But just go and follow, go check it out. We appreciate the haters. Actually, sometimes
If you're gonna hate on any of us, hate on me. I can take it away.
Me too. Okay.
I'm blessed with it. It's all good.
Just make sure you like the video after. That's the cost of hating. So yeah, go check that out. So I was going to say Katie's here. I was going to say don't worry about haters, but no hating to Kaylee. Kaylee gets a buy.
Yeah, it's pass. I'm happy for people to call me a dickhead. It's all good.
And I'm doing some cringe shit at the moment, so feel free to drop a comment.
I'm going to take that video. I'm going to take that one clip of that video, and I'm just going to keep it. And I'm just going to keep it. And I'm not ever going to reference it. And one day I'm just going to post it somewhere.
No, I think we should do a bloopers compilation at the end. I think at some point in the year, it'd be so funny.
Mate, there's so many of them. I fell over in my last reel. Just Tommy edited it really well, so it looked funny and it was good. And what was interesting, nobody referenced it. I thought somebody might say you fell over or something, but no.
Yeah, no one said anything.
I was expecting.
But yeah, obviously you're looking at this big warehouse, right? And that's what you feel like is your next big step that will change. Well,
the story for that day was specifically I went to go and look at a 12,000, not 12,000, a 1,200 square foot unit, right?
When
me and Tasha, so the guy that was there, that was like the groundsman or whatever, he wasn't at the unit, like it was open and he wasn't at it. So me and Tasha like poked our heads in, had a quick look in and stuff like that before he turned up. And we both looked at each other and we're just like, we could move all of our shit in here now, and we'd be pretty much nearly, like, I would say 70 to 80% of that capacity. Once you put because it's supposed to be like an all-encompassing one space, right? So office, photo station, sorting station, electronic storage, and clothing storage, plus goods in storage, right? Like there's a lot going in this space. And we both looked at each other and said that there is no way that we get past 6 months and haven't, especially with car boot season coming in, because I'm intending to go more ham than I have done in a lot of like car boot seasons. So there is no way in our minds that 1,200 square foot was gonna be enough. Which I think you said that yours is like what, 600 square foot?
500.
And you were like, that seems wild that it's not enough. But I just
it's more than double my space and some. And to have that is really like for it to not be enough is really interesting.
So quickly, I will just answer Xander. So Xander, I have you can, so just in case anybody doesn't know, if you move into a property, you will acquire business rates or a rateable rate from the council.
A rate that is rateable by the council is essentially what I'm trying to mean. But when you go into anything like this, you need to know what it's going to be. So, for instance, I came back after viewing. So I went to go and see that unit. Then they showed me another one which had some issues. So I wouldn't have been able to move in there for another 6 months because they've got some work to do in that one. And I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it before that. But the third one, which is the one I'm really interested in, just needs some electrical lighting stuff sorted out, and it's pretty much good to go. But it is 3,100 or 200 square foot. But you can go onto the government website and you can search, find the rate of a unit or a business or whatever, right? So you can go onto there, you can put the postcode in, you can find the unit that you're required to. And essentially in my area, the council rate is, once it's rateable at £12,000, it is free. So anything above £12,000, you have to pay a percentage of the rates, right? But up to £12,000, which is its value. £12,000 what?
So 12,000, basically, if the rate is 12 grand, right? That's how much they say is basically the way that the rates are, it's for the bins and for the road and all that sort of stuff. Like
it's business council tax.
Yeah. So that building is rateable at £12,000.
What do you mean at £12,000?
So its rate is 12 grand. So you can get smaller businesses, smaller buildings that will be rated at like 3,800 or 7,000. And basically what it means is that anything under 12 grand and under, you don't pay anything on. You can get a small business rate.
So basically so for different size buildings, you have different rates.
Yes.
And sorry, you'd have different...
and also depending on if it's multi-use. So if you have an office, for instance, that's rateable at a different rate to a warehouse. So single use buildings versus multi-use buildings, there's two different sorts of rates.
So, but for the bit that's confusing me is that if you have a bigger building, they don't start charging you business rates till a higher point.
No, your business. So in my area, I could have any size building, and as long as the rateable value is less than 12 grand, I don't have to pay it because I can apply for small business rate relief.
Wow. But what is the rateable value? I think it's an estimate of the rental value of the premises. Like, yeah, what are they looking at to be 12,000?
At that point, I don't know. I don't know how they calculate it. All I know is that I had it calculated and I just looked at it. But essentially, from me, 12 grand and under, I don't have to pay. And I think it's 12 to 16 grand. You pay 25% of the entire value extra to the council. And then anything that's like bigger and bigger, you just pay more essentially until you pay 100%, which would be on a building that's probably like fucking 26,000 square foot or something like that.
And right? If you're like paying like double.
Yeah, they're probably paying like 60 grand a year just in rateable fees or whatever. So basically, this unit is essentially quote unquote free from the extra rate, which is fantastic, by the way. Brilliant news. Because I was worried that it was going to acquire an extra rate. So one of the reasons why I'm so interested in this building is because there's no VAT attached to it. For whatever reason, I don't know, not asked. But it's a 5-year lease. There is a break, but I haven't seen the contract, so I don't know where the break is. My plan is also I got some insider information from the groundsman, who basically said that his wife has got one of the units, and she was able to negotiate a free 2 months for the initial 2 months. So she didn't pay any rent for the first 2 months. And the problem with this area in general is that these buildings specifically are a little older. And the issue is that they're not doing them up until they've got a tenant. But tenants then go in and go, well, this needs doing. And if you're like me, who is super impatient, I'm not going to wait 6 months for you to fix that unit and get it up to standard, and then me sign a contract to say that I'm going to move in 6 months, because that's not the way the world works. You can't go, oh, this building's fucked, but as soon as you say you're going to move in, we'll fix it for you. You have to kind of fix it and then expect somebody just to move straight in, right? But they do it in a weird way. But essentially, the guy was like, oh yeah, you can get 2 months free, and they'll fix things once you've moved in, essentially, right? Which is stupid, but hey ho. Which what I would try and do here is, because it's about £1,500 a month for the rent, and that's without VAT, so that's okay. But what I'm going to try and do is that the rent would for the first 2 months would be £3,000. So my plan would be to ask them whether we can negotiate removing those free 2 months. I'll pay rent for the entire 12 months, but I'll take those 2 months and I'll spread it across 12, which then brings the rent down closer to £1,250. So that my first year would be a lot lower. However, then once year 2 and 3, 4, and 5 hit, I will be paying the near on £1,600 a month, which seems insane. But I'm already paying £700 a month in storage containers.
1,500 a month sounds insane for $3,000's worth of footage.
Well, I know somebody else who's just moved into a unit that's paying less and got more. So yeah. Again, location is important for this type of thing. So yeah, it's just a little bit of an iffy one. But I don't want right now. I'm like, I don't want to go for because I'm doing this off projection, right? I could go into that 1,200 square footer and I could probably just about make it work.
Just sit there and do nothing
for a year, right? And make it work for a year. But I'm doing this based off the fact that I don't want to move. That 1,200 unit is a 5-year lease with no break. So like, I'd have to negotiate a break in. So that's not something that they might want to do anyway. So it might not be the 3,000 square footer, but it's definitely going to be closer to 2,000. I'm waiting for the contact details to be able to, negotiate some stuff and maybe look at some different units as well in a different location. But yeah, 3,000 seems mental to me, because I know that I wouldn't even half fill it right now. But based on my assumption of what I want to, and I know and can believe that I will do, I'm going to need all of that space in 5 years' time.
Out of interest, so I'm going to get now I'm just going to jump around. So yeah, understood. So obviously this is a prediction. Again, when you're looking at spaces, you want to get something you're going to be able to grow into and not just squeeze out and then have to move, especially if you're locking into something that's going to be over a long-term period, right? But I mean, I've got a few other questions about what in your head the projection of your business looks like. Let's just. Kenny said push for a break because you might decide to sell coins and not need any space in the next 3 to 5 years. 100% what I want. And okay, also we'll be reading that contract very carefully. I've been doing some big thinking / planning of it evenly too. Was looking at a warehouse, the rateable value of 49,750. So rent is likely insane. Yes.
The rent, by the way, the rent on that will be about 60 grand.
Will be a while before I claim that space. Stamps for address. Any option to sublet till you need to all the space?
So again, in unconfirmed rumors from the groundsman, who's obviously chatted to a lot of these people in these units, they haven't got a problem with me subletting. They just don't want to know that you're subletting. So they're like they're happy for you to recoup some of the value if necessary.
Sounds like an interesting.
This is the problem, right? Because I know the way I am and my mentality right now. My problem would be subletting that and then in 6 months being like, I've already filled it. You're going to need to move. And I don't want to do that to somebody who's potentially sorting out a business themselves. Or I even I voice noted you, right? And I was like, I've never wanted you to live closer to me ever than right now, because like we would both be able to grow into that place like really well. I mean, we might have to kick one of us might have to kick the other out after a certain amount of time, but
whoever grows first, but you're going to take space with electricals and stuff. It's so fat, such a fat business.
In general, like I could do that, and I even joked to Tasha. By the way, when I say I joked, I'm very much being serious, and I wanted to gauge it with her. She's having none of it. But I was like, oh, there's a kitchen, there's a shower, there's a toilet, there's also 2 little rooms. We could maybe leave our home and just live here. Then that takes out some personal cost and just relies heavily on the business cost.
And then you could rent your house out.
And she was not so keen on that one. So
yeah, no, I understand that. I understand that she doesn't want to live in a shed full of electronics. So very understandable, logical human decision.
My brain works in one way, and this is also, and this goes back to right. This is going to be a niche reference, and I hope somebody understands it. But I used to play a game called Ark, right, which was like a dinosaur game. It was like a whole world of dinosaurs. You had to tame them, kill them, build houses and stuff like that. But to get bigger and better materials and to grow in that, you had to start with something small. You would have to melt all the metal and then craft different things, right?
Yeah, basically Minecraft.
So again, so very similar. So when my brothers were playing this, right, and my friends were playing it, they were making everything look pretty, right? And my brain went to, let's cram as much in here as possible so that we can get the maximum output so that we can get to the next step faster, right? And that has always been my brain. So when I'm thinking about these things, I'm like, all right, how do I get the maximum output of this? And maximum output for me is to cram it with as much as possible, i.e.
including your living,
extract as much value out of it as possible.
There's certain things that are designed for certain things, and that's not one of them.
Maybe not. Listen, maybe not, but
okay. In terms of other stuff, though, Hanny, I don't know if you're asking for size for rateable value. Is that what you're asking him to know?
I'm assuming she's just telling us that it's size that is the equivalent, like the rateable value is based off the size.
So where does the 12,000 come in? So is it 12,000 square foot?
No, so it's just that 12,000 is a rateable value of the 3,200 square foot, essentially.
And then Tommy's his is not based on size either. He's got saying the rateable value is 49,750. I'm confused. I'll look into this unless someone wants to drop an AI definition in the comments for me.
Yeah, if somebody wants to chuck a Google Translate in there, we'll sort it out.
Yeah. So obviously, the things that are interesting about it. The first thing that I thought actually is if you want to like, it's just like this wouldn't be now, but you could become a electricals ragman type thing, and have a guy that drives around in a van and with the vans with the cages and goes obviously and tries to talk to the charity shops and they're like, oh, you need to take everything type of thing, and you're thinking house clearance, which is also a good, that's profitable in its own right, so that kind of makes sense. But it's yeah, you could have a rag guy that goes and collects all the electricals from everyone, which would be really interesting in itself. And okay, my problem, and I said this to you last week, right, or whenever we talked about it previously, that your view is that the space you'll be able to increase what you're doing because of the efficiency of the area. But
so basically, I took a mini break in December, at the end of December, from the group stuff, and kind of like half-heartedly doing the reselling journey. We dropped from 20 to 10 listings, whatever. And one of the reasons for that was I was really getting into trying to work out how to grow the business, whether it's from a clothing or electrical perspective, whatever it may be. But I was focusing at that point mainly on electricals and opening up that avenue, right? And I spoke to a lot of house clearance people, which is the place that I want to try and focus my efforts on. And a lot of those people, you're not solving a problem for them if you go in and take the best stuff. Like, that's not the problem. You're not solving any problem there. In fact, you're creating a more difficult problem. They can get rid of the good stuff. They can't get rid of the big stuff.
Yeah. I run into that same issue as well. Like, so in what I was doing, like I originally started with hey, can you only send me the good stuff? And that involved them doing a whole thing and then people being left with bad stuff.
You also need to rely on them knowing the good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was a relationship we could work on, right? But I was like, I would like to make it work and to make it fit. I was like, I have to adapt, like, and to be able to do that, I need to, and to make the service actually useful to people, so they take it, and it's like you said, oh, maybe people won't use it. In my head, what I'm doing right now is like a no-brainer. Like, it's like this service delivers what it needs to for these people, and it's a no-brainer for them to say yes, because I come in, I deal with everything, I give them the money, they don't have to worry about anything. Everything is improved in their situation, and I get what I want out of it, although I have to now handle some processing. So I completely understand that, and I think that is a thing one people are afraid of. Like, I think scalable stuff is really interesting, because I think almost everyone that goes into scale runs into this issue, that or ends up working slightly more towards this model. But yeah, I get that.
I've heard some, like, we inside of the group, I've heard some interesting people have conversations, and I won't say who, because it's not fair on them and they probably don't want to be told, but like a lot of people in there are like, there's only so far you can take, like, handpicking stuff, right? Like, it really becomes difficult. And even if it's not like a knowledge thing, it's a time thing sometimes. Like, how much can you actually get in? What is the maximum amount of items that I can single-handedly source, process, and list every single day, right? And I know that I would be capped at probably like 50, especially from a sourcing perspective, because I wouldn't want to drop
my high. You would not get to 50 by any means, by the way.
Maybe I wouldn't.
So your single-handedly source list, there's no way you're at 50.
Maybe not, but I could probably source higher quantities because of the way that I source now. Like, and the quadruple like effect I have. So I've really interesting, by the way. I now use my phone for Whatnot. So I have Whatnot on my phone. I have eBay Live on another phone. I then have my vintage sourcing, and I've also got auctions on another screen. So now I'm sourcing from 4 different places at the same time.
You're in like a dystopian hell. Like, yeah, this sounds awful. Chaos.
But basically, I've heard some great advice, which is like, basically handpicking your items is probably one of the most difficult things to scale. Like, scaling it is really hard. So a lot of people that do scale higher, they will end up like curating their wholesale type of stuff. So which is kind of what I'm trying to do with the electronics, because I don't want to do it with the clothing, because the clothing quality drop off is crazy. Like, in terms of like how easy it is to drop off past a certain point, that nobody cares anymore about the clothing. With electricals, there is still some value in some of the stuff that people don't want. For instance, I don't want to deal with fridges, but I also know that fridges are expensive. So if you can buy all of a house clearance that includes washing machines and fridges, and you bang those on Facebook Marketplace for collection, I've got a van and I've got a warehouse. I could probably deliver it as well locally. Like, you can bang those on Facebook Marketplace and whip those out at 50 quid a pop, not even close. And one of the reasons that was the biggest twinge in my head for this was that there is a company called Tash is going to know what's that company, Tash, that's it's like a charity. They do a lot of big stuff, electricals and furniture. Oh, Furniture Scheme. There you go. There's a place called Furniture Scheme, and they basically they will take donated washing machines, microwaves, fridges, all of this stuff, right? It's all big, bulky. They will come around and collect it all. They will take it to their unit, and then they will sell it in the unit to people that are just starting out life, right? When I went there, when I was 17, 18, I went there and bought my first like washing machines and fridges and stuff, right?
That's cool.
So I know the advantages and the quality, like having that available in my area is fantastic, because not everyone can go. Like, I had to buy a new washing machine the other day, £500 for a new washing machine. And that's not even a great make. Like, it's a standard, like it's not one of the top end, right? So like, people don't have that. So if you can jump into a warehouse and pay 50 quid and just get one that will last you 12 months, that's your starting point. You get in, you get out, and you're okay. So I know that that's a doable thing. So when it comes to the house clearances, I can take those items, I can price them cheap, not only because it means that I can get it in and get it gone, I'll make some of the money back, and it will help somebody who might not be in a fortunate position or whatever, or just might not want to buy a brand new £500 washing machine. So I really am starting to look at it. The thing that I really need to look at now is try and find companies that will refurbish and fix, and then try and send them bulk of the stuff that I might not want to do.
So this is what I was thinking when you were saying stuff, right? So to me, going away from the problem originally, right? It's like you're saying the space will solve your issue, but to me, your issue is not space, it's time. And lots of the things you're talking about is like going to be little bits of time that compound it on top of each other to give you even less time in your day. For example, like moving around this stuff is not something that is doesn't lack effort, right? And time, as well as the fixing of stuff and refurbishing of stuff, testing of stuff. All of this stuff will, like, this is why, again, when you say you can do 50, right now your time is spread thin anyway. Like, you couldn't do 50 by yourself right now whatsoever.
Maybe not.
Not whatsoever. And maybe you get it sorted. For example, if the wholesale comes in inside of things and it's actually really good and it's working really effectively, you would allow you to do that sort of thing quite easily. But with what you're doing right now, you can't do 50. So to bring in all these extra components and say, okay, this is all going to work and we're able to scale, I think your brick wall you'll run into is going to be like your system side of things and your processing side of things, and the time input into all of that is going to be super difficult to deal with.
By the way, I'm under no illusion. I'm not saying that I'm just going to do this and it's going to work smoothly. Nothing in my life has ever been smooth when it comes to.
Yeah, but the thing that's interesting to me here is, like, it would be interesting to break down the systems for yourself and look into it, right? Because you can look at what you do now, and you can, for example, obviously you haven't got the space yet, but before you start bringing a load of shit into the space would be, I need to figure out literally how every piece of this is going to work before I just start throwing stuff at this space. Because one, especially if you're doing bulky stuff, that's going to cause chaos very, very, very quickly. And two, like the amount you're getting in or commit to from, for example, if you just get the space and then start reaching out to the house clearance guys and be like, guys, I'm excited. I've got space now. Bring me all your stuff. I'll no problem. Then you're going to get there.
I'm not going to go.
I've got 16 fridges in the front of this garage. What the fuck am I going to do now?
So what? I'm gonna drip feed. Like, I know I'm not stupid, but like, I'm ambitious with a lot of my claims a lot of the time. But like, I'm gonna be very similar to what you've done, which is get 1 or 2 house clearances, feed it, work it, make sure I can get rid of the white goods, like how that works. There is a section at the front of my unit, or not my unit, but the one I've been looking at. There is a section at the front which you could basically corner off and have that as like a not a shop, but like have people come in and potentially buy from you right directly. So you could say, I've got like a white goods section of the shop at the front. People can come in and pay for stuff there. Like, there is that avenue. Also, I'm gonna think about like looking at like refurbishing stuff myself. But that obviously is something that's going to be time consuming, and probably would, like, every time I get one, it would be like, I'll go on the back burner, and maybe I'll just accumulate a massive pile, right? And then I understand. But my process is always go hard, work out what you can't do, and when you work out what you can't do, deal with that separately. So, for instance, even my very small limited knowledge on this sort of thing, I know that Currys have a deal with the Salvation Armies now where they'll take all of their items and they will, all the electronic like pat tested failures, they will take all of those and then they will refurbish them and then they will sell them on their store, right? Mm-hmm. So there is an option for me to contact whoever's dealing with that, and maybe I could get a value for it. Maybe I just send it to them free, like, because it's out of my wheelhouse. Like, and you've also got to remember some of the more vintagey stuff and some of the newer stuff to some degree, there is value in spares or repairs. So regardless of whether it works or not, there is value. But anything under the £20 mark, because of the big bulkiness of it and stuff like that, anything under the £20 value would then get set off in that. So then if I can send it to Currys free and they pay the shipping or whatever, then I would probably be happy to do that, because I get rid of it all out of my way and I can just focus more on cycling through the good stuff. So there is loads of things that I am initially going to break, as I always do, and I always have. Break, rewind, figure out, break, rewind, figure out. That's kind of like the motto of my life, right? And I do genuinely think that there is no, like, once I get this, like, it's going to be crazy.
I mean, I think the problem with your method of doing that, right, is once it starts impacting other people and other relationships, that's when you can't do that anymore. So, for example, if you had set up a load of deals with people and then your system breaks, you're going to fuck over multiple people. It's not just going to be yourself. People will start relying on you to do your aspect in your job. And if you go with, hey, I'm just gonna go to the breaks, and then, guys, can you wait? It's broken at the moment. I'm rewinding and fixing it. Then you're gonna lose out on, well, one, lose out, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but two, impact a lot of other people's businesses, which is never going to be good for.
And again, in business, you can't be like, we know as well as anybody, right? Like, if you imagine me going to the charity shop and going, guys, you're putting up your prices, you're fucking impacting my business here. What are you doing? They're going to be like, what the fuck?
That's very, very different.
Very different, but it's the same concept.
So no, it's not. It's not the same concept.
It absolutely is. And I'm not saying that, again, I am going to be doing it very I can't break it to the point where I collapse, but the first two, I'll get one house clearance guy in, deal with that product. And also, like, house clearances, you don't tend to get stuff. It would be pretty similar to the like stock intakes you have, or you will have, where it will be maybe once every 2 weeks, once every month, that you would get like a big load of stuff. And then that gives you a month to process it and deal with it and do whatever. And then obviously, if you get more house clearances, that like would then mean that you'd have loads. But the first initial thing is to get one deal with one house clearance, do that for a couple of months, make sure I can handle what I'm trying to do. The biggest problem is actually just testing stuff. Testing stuff takes time.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially when you can pick up stuff that you don't even know what it is. And again, I talk about now that my space is like, I've got a TV on the wall and I've got some speakers on the floor. And if I have an audio piece, I can set up that. And if I have a TV, like a DVD player, VHS player, whatever, I can test that. But if I have a fucking DJ booth that you can integrate lights and stuff into, and smoke machines, and you can press buttons and it does all that, I can't test that. So that's when it becomes more difficult and stuff.
Send it to me, I'll fucking give it a hot spin. Yeah, I completely get you. I mean, for example, my version of your issue, or what I'm thinking about as your issue, right, is if I'm looking at scalability of me at the moment and what things might break. So mine is a space thing. Similarly, like, I think being able to process what my first one was delivery, right? Like, I can't get straight away. I was like, I'll just get it delivered to my shop. They'll be fine with it. And then someone's like, I'm going to send you 20 bags. And I'm like, I can't send 20 bin bag sized things to this shop. It's a corner shop that has little space in it. Like, there's no way without like a problem. And I talked to him about, is like, oh, you can pay me to keep stuff. I was like, even still, like, the logistics of getting the stuff from you to me and ferrying 20 bags back and forth is stupid. Like, that's just a stupid thing to deal with. So the next issue, that's a problem I've been working on. Like, how do I then solve that when I don't even have an address? It doesn't make any sense. So that's when we're looking at the box, like I said at the start, and stuff like that. So number one, that breaks. And I'm like, okay, we need to deal with that. And then there's the actual space. Like I get, oh, okay, I'm getting stuff in. That's fine. Now I need space to process. I need to have a pile of stuff that's going to go to the outlet to different places. And I need to make sure that's not taking up the whole space and that I've still got space to photograph the next slot and move it all through. And I'm like, how does that work? That could be the next thing that breaks if I get overwhelmed there. And then the worst thing at the moment that I'm concerned about is my outlet for my clothing at the moment at scale is car boot people, or one singular car boot person. And I've talked
multiple.
I've talked to her multiple times, and I'm like, "Are you sure? Like that you're going to be good for however long?" And she's like, "Yeah, of course. Like I'm fine. Like I can take. I unload, tons of stuff at these markets and stuff like that." I'm like, "That's fantastic. Good news." But firstly, one thing I've straight away realized is on the men's side of things, she's doesn't like it as much. So there's going to be some stuff left over there, which I can just donate to the charity shop next door. That's my other outlet. But if I get stuck getting stuff at bulk and the space becomes an issue, and then the woman doesn't turn up one time, then suddenly everything crumbles. Like I was talking to, that's how I was viewing your side of things. Like if you are my car boot lady and I'm relying on you to show up, and then you don't show up 1 week, and then my hot shop gets overrun, then yeah, I can find another outlet. But your unreliability heavily impacts me, and my relationship with you then has a problem, and then I'm not happy, and so on and so forth. So I then need to find multiple. In my head, my next solution that I need to deal with is finding multiple outlets for stuff probably in the future, or at least very much heavily keeping an eye on that. I don't think it will be hard because I think realistically I can go to the car boot and be like, hey, I've got clothes in good condition and semi curated for 75p a piece that are like forever. Like if you want that and you're interested in that, I'm sure I can find like
there's
five vendors, no issue.
I think the problem you're doing, like with what your bottlenecks are essentially space, and there's only one of you. Like that's the two biggest things in my head, because obviously you're going to need more space eventually. That's just a fact. And then the fact that there's only you, like that's where I've got the biggest advantage, is because obviously Tasha is basically mirrors my workload and my effort and my time. So that just makes it much easier for us to be able to do more. And again, we are pretty relaxed, and I know we work a lot and there's a lot of effort and time that goes into it, but a lot of it is very sort of like labored time. Like I'm not running around like a knobhead, and some days I am, but like we can cope with that. But most of the time we might be working longer hours, but it's very labored work, right? Whereas I feel like there's still time and effort, and also like job roles can be redefined, like processes can be redefined. I think there's ways of improving what we do now that we just don't know. And obviously space again allows you the ability to redefine that. We were chatting just before where you were saying that you might need a bigger space soon, and like that allows you to then repurpose you've got it set up now based on your size and your space. But when you move to another place, you might be able to make it even more efficient because you've got more space to play with. So like just space is such a bit, we spoke about it like last week or the week before, right? Space is one of the biggest bottlenecks. So like in terms of just being able to set things up correctly, having the ability to change your mind, pivot, make new decisions, get new stock in. Imagine like I had a pallet of boxes delivered to my house, and the guy knocked on my door and was like, have I got the right place here? I've got a pallet of boxes. And Tasha was like, yeah. And the guy looked at us like we were mental, because guess what?
Where are they?
They're at the unit. They're in one of my storage containers.
Okay, I thought they were at the house. I was like, where did you put them?
Basically told him to put the pallet on the road outside, and we just loaded them from the pallet to the van and then took them to the unit. But I can tell you now, has probably delivered to one house in the last month. Where he's
like, what's going on, man?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the level of like compromise that space, you could just get shit delivered there, and like you can change things up so much easier.
Yeah, 100%. Duck or grouse said, Chris, would you consider opening your warehouse to reseller subscribers to bulk buy from you? And by reseller subscribers, I'm assuming you mean people that I don't know if you mean a subscription-based reseller thing or people that subscribe to us who are resellers.
So one thing that's really fascinating to me at the moment is the live selling, and why I spoke so passionately about it the other week. And it's not because I'm gonna do it, but I envy, not I oh no, I envy and sort of like look up to what they're doing, because it's such an interesting model to me. I was watching an Instagram yesterday, and the guy did 100 grand in sales in 1 month. And I get that the margins are smaller and all that sort of stuff, right? And actually, one of the hardest parts is probably the bulk buying of the stock, like getting the stock in to do volume enough to sell 100 grand is probably a similar issue to what we have, like hand picking. They could probably get away with it a little bit more than we can in terms of the quality, because they will probably get stuff cheap enough to make it work. But the model fascinates me. And also, so from what you were saying there, in terms of how much I got in, so if I was working with many house clearances in my area, in that area, and I had so much I just couldn't deal with it, then absolutely I would be like, because at the moment we have a scarcity mindset, right? If I buy something, I buy it for 5, I don't want to sell it for 10, because I can only do that 20 times. But if I can do that 1,000 times, I'm more likely to want to do that and not extrapolate as much value out. Because if it's a £10 item and I can sell it for 40, and a reseller says I'll give you 20, I do that 20 times. I'm like, nah, I'll just sell it for 40 because I can cope with 20. But if I get thousands of items and you do it and you go, oh, I'll sell it for £5 profit per item, you just do it at a higher volume. That's a much more appealing.
I thought this, right? So right now, obviously, I've got a few brackets in my business. One is the lower bracket of 50. Well, I got 4 brackets, right? One is anything over £20. 2 is 15 to 20. 3 is around the £10 mark, and 4 is clearance. So clearance is 75p. £10 mark, I'm getting £3 for, which £2 profit. And then 15 to 20, I'm paying £3-4 into 15 to 20. And then anything above, I'm paying a third, right? And I was like, as business scales and I get more and more stuff in, obviously I've already got that clearance going to that person. If then I had another group of people that were happy to do the 3 into 15 sort of model, then I could take that lower bracket out of my business and then have more time to do, if I was overwhelmed by stuff, do a lot more of the higher end stuff and have that completely sorted as someone else that wants to do that. And that's it'll be really interesting to see in the future how it goes. But I'm in a similar boat. Like, it depends on what you've got going on. And I've thought about, for example, like you talk about live selling. I'm like, oh, it'd be super interesting to have a whatnot person. So obviously right now I'm clearing to the car boot people. If I get a bigger space and I have someone in the corner just bangs out whatnot all day and just sells everything, whatever it goes for, it doesn't matter. Like that's free stock. And it would be super interesting to have someone run those things and see how they go. But yeah, that was quite exciting.
I just wanted to clarify also, I have dreams of grandeur a lot. So although I talk about these big things, like sometimes I don't hit the level of which I want to get it to, but I'll still move into that direction. So it might take some time, but I'm under no illusion that it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world to do. But I like the difficulty of it and the grind. So I'll continue.
True. Always fun playing the game.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate you being here. That was a fun one, to be fair.
I enjoyed it.
And we will see you next week. Bye.